Hello and welcome to the first UCL Fantasy video of the 24-25 season. In this video I'm going to take you through how the new format works, how you can get the most enjoyment and of course how you can score the most points. Now today we're going to look at the basic team and match structure for new players and how to effectively use captains and substitutions. Next we'll look at the chips which are available to you within the game. We'll look at the best time to use them in a future video, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on that. We will then move on to point scoring, so we have a good idea of where we can gather the most points and what makes this game different from other fantasy football games. And finally we will look at some essential tips throughout the video which you will need to achieve your best possible score this season in UCL Fantasy. Now if you're interested in my credentials, I have been playing Champions League Fantasy since the Euro 2021 game after I really enjoyed the format and wanted to continue playing. Now in the 3 years I have played, I have managed 2 very respectable ranks in the last 2 years, which would have been a lot better had I not bottled it in both finals, but I do feel as though I have done well enough to at least teach you how to play the game. Now when picking your squad you have a €100 million budget to pick 15 players. This will leave you with a starting 11 and 4 players on the bench. Now for the league stage of the competition you are only allowed to select 3 players from each club, however this does increase as we get further into the tournament and more teams are eliminated. Now when it comes to picking your starting 11 you can have any formation you like as long as it fits typical formation standards, for example having at least 1 goalkeeper, 3 defenders, 3 midfielders and 1 forward. Now when you first create your team you will be asked to select a captain, but just auto select that for now as we will go more in depth about captaincy soon. So UCL Fantasy works by match days, not game weeks if you are more familiar with FPL. Now each match day is equivalent to a round of games and each match day is split over the number of days it takes to play a round, for example Tuesday and Wednesday. Now this year, because of the new format and the increased number of games, match days will be split into 3 days, which is adding Thursdays to the match calendar. Now previously UCL Fantasy worked with a total of 13 match days, which had 6 in the group stage and a further 7 as we progressed into the knockout stage. With the new format we will see that increase to 17 total match days, with 8 corresponding to the 8 games for each team in the league stage, and then 9 match days in the knockout stages, with the added 2 coming from the playoff round before the round of 16. Now within each match day, managers are able to make substitutions and switch captaincies. So for example, after the first day of matches, if one of your players doesn't perform, you can sub them out for someone on your bench who is still to play that match day. You will lose this player's points, but gain whatever your substitute achieves in their match. This is why it's common UCL fantasy practice to place all of your players playing last on your bench so that you maximise your options of players to bring off for our substitutes. Remember this tip because it is one of the most important elements to succeed in this game. Something to also keep in mind is that you can't sub in players who have already played on that match day or players who have been red carded. Now with captains it is similar to subs. For the first day of matches you can set a captain that will score you double points. Now if your captain performs poorly, just as with substitutions, you can switch that captain to someone who plays the next day to get double points from them. Now again, you do lose the points from your previous captain, which is why it can be a gamble if your captain only scores 1 goal, for example. You can do this as many times as you like within a match day, so as you can see match day 1 has 3 days worth of games, therefore you can have a maximum of 3 captains to make sure you get it right. So just make sure you have 3 good captains for each of the 3 days, and just to highlight, make sure you set your captain initially to someone who plays on the first day of the match day. Now once all games are completed within a match day and we look to move on to the next, that's when you are able to make transfers. Transfers involve completely removing a player from your squad and bringing in someone new that you do not own. Now once a match day is completed, your points are locked in, so you don't have to worry about losing their points if you plan on transferring that player out for match day 2, for example. Now obviously up until the tournament kicks off you can make as many transfers as you like, so you can bring players in and out as much as you like right up until the first deadline on on Tuesday the 17th of September. After that, you are limited to only 2 transfers per match day, which means you do have to look at the fixtures to decide which players you want to keep long term and who you might want to use one of your 2 transfers on to bring out in between match days. Now this year there are 2 periods where you can make unlimited transfers. These come after the league stage has finished, so you can make unlimited transfers heading into the playoff round, and also after the playoff round is finished, so you also get unlimited transfers before the round of 16. This means that you can target games in the playoff round without having to plan ahead to future fixtures and who might go through. On screen you can also see the number of transfers you get for the remaining rounds as well, which is definitely something you want to take note of. And if you wish to make more transfers than the allocated amount, you can, but each transfer will cost you 4 points, so you do tend to want to avoid this. Now, as we mentioned, in the league stage you can only make 2 transfers per match day. If for whatever reason you are happy with your team and you don't want to use those transfers, you can carry only 1 through to the following match day, which leaves you with a maximum of 3 transfers. So if you don't use both of your transfers, you will lose one, as you can't carry them both into the next round. Now this is only an available feature in the league stage, because once we reach the playoffs and beyond, you cannot carry over any transfers. Now moving on to chips, in UCL Fantasy we have 2 chips available to us. Chips give us the ability to change our squad in order to score more points. In this game we have the wildcard and the limitless available to us. Now these chips can be used whenever you want except for the match days following a period of unlimited transfers, so that will be match day 1, 9 and 11 that you cannot use a chip, or to make it easier, the first round of games, the playoff round first leg and the round of 16 first leg. So what do these chips do? Well, the wildcard allows you to make unlimited changes to your squad permanently, so that means every transfer you make will stay in your squad for future match days. Now the usual rules still apply when you use this chip, such as the 100 million budget and the maximum players you can select from each team. Now something to note, that if you already have made any transfers for a match day and then activate your wildcard, those transfers will be cancelled. Now this is particularly important if you've already made any transfers that result in point deductions, such as a -4 or a -8, as those points will be given back to you. And obviously once you hit that activate wildcard button, it cannot be cancelled, so make sure you play it with caution. Now the Limitless chip is similar to the wildcard, but with some crucial differences. The Limitless chip also allows you to make unlimited transfers, but they only last for that specific match day that you use it. So if you play your Limitless in match day 3, in match day 4 your team will revert back to how it was in match day 2 before you activated the chip. Now the most important thing to know about the Limitless chip that makes it so powerful is that you have absolutely no budget restrictions for the match day you play it in. This means that you can have the most expensive player in every position if you like, but obviously it only lasts for that specific match day. This is particularly useful when a bunch of the big teams have very easy fixtures and you want to pick all of the best players. Now of course both chips can only be played once, and once it has been played, that is it, gone for the season, so make sure you make the best use out of both of them. Now when we look at point scoring, you can find the entire list of how to score points on the rules section of the game, but we are going to highlight the parts that make the game unique and interesting. So firstly we're going to take a look at ball recoveries, which was a feature added in the 1920 season to give managers a way to score points outside of goals, clean sheets and assists, and gives consideration to players who wouldn't normally be picked for fantasy games, such as defensive midfielders and centre backs. Now as you can see on screen, a player will receive 1 point for every 3 ball recoveries. Now UEFA/Opta defines a ball recovery as where a player recovers the ball in a situation where neither team has possession, or where the ball has been directly played to him by an opponent, thus securing possession for their team. Essentially this means a player winning the ball for their team. So why are ball recoveries so important? Well, if we look at last year's ball recovery superstar, we have Mats Hummels for Dortmund, who managed 120 total ball recoveries in just 13 matches. Now this equates to 9.2 balls recovered per game, and that means he averaged 3 extra points from just ball recoveries alone, which is the same amount of points that you get for an assist, so definitely someone you'd want to consider for your team. So these were the top 5 players for ball recoveries last year. Now not to say that they will perform again this year, but 100% is a stat that you want to be keeping an eye on. Next, we will look at the Player of the Match awards. Now, this can sometimes be a game-defining feature because the Player of the Match gets an extra 3 points at the end of every single game, and it is decided by the UEFA Technical Observer panel. If you want to keep track of this, you can either try and spot who's given the trophy on TV, or you can find it on UEFA's official website a couple of minutes after the full-time whistle. Or if you're lazy, I post it on my Twitter page after every single match, so make sure you're following me over there. The link is in the description. Now, this feature can be a little controversial as some don't like it, as it essentially adds further punishment if you do miss out on a big haul. For example, if Erling Haaland goes out and bags a hat-trick, he is almost guaranteed to secure a further 3 points with the Player of the Match award, which does become 6 points if you captain him. Great if you own, of course, but horrendous if you miss out. Now, before we end things off, assists can be a foggy area when it comes to UCL Fantasy, which can get quite annoying. So for an assist to count, the pass has to be interpreted as intentional. So any uncontrolled touches or unintentional passes are not credited as assists. And also, if a player passes the ball to their teammate and the teammate then goes on a solo dribble and scores, they do not get credited with an assist, which can be quite annoying when every other platform does count it as an assist, except for UEFA Fantasy. This does happen quite a lot, so just be prepared for it. Just to add, if a player wins a penalty and is then scored, they are awarded 2 points for winning the penalty rather than the 3 points for the assist. This can be good because even if a player misses the penalty, the player who won it is still awarded points. Now lastly, when it comes to clean sheets, a player is only awarded a clean sheet if they do play 60 minutes or more. This does include extra time where points are still scored, so if a player is subbed on before the 60th minute and plays through all of extra time without conceding a goal, they will be awarded with a clean sheet. This also counts even if their team has conceded before they came on the pitch. The same applies if a player is subbed off before a clean sheet is lost, as they still keep their points. And that should just about wrap up everything there is to know. If you're playing, make sure to join my mini league, in which the code is on screen now, or you can use the auto join link in the description. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more UCL Fantasy content throughout the season. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.